Good morning, YouTubers. Well, I had to stay up late last night because Fiona found the interview, the actual live interview with Prince Harry, and she insisted that I watch it. And this is the one we're supposed to pay $37 for. Someone posted it on the internet for free. And I dare say it's a matter of time before it gets taken down, and I can't show any of it on my channel because I'll get copyright issues over it. But I actually sat through the whole thing, which was about 1 hour 25 minutes, something like that. And I thought, she said to me, just get your take on it and tell me what you think of it. And I said, right, okay. And I can imagine what I'm going to think of it beforehand. It's very prejudgmental of me, I know, but I've listened to this idiot before. And I thought, well, he's just going to waffle. Anyway, the scene is set. He's sitting at the sofa. There's some dude, some psychologist sitting on the other sofa, and there's a fireplace in the background with a couple of windows and there blazing away, log fire, carpet in the middle. And I'm sitting there looking at this and I'm thinking, what's wrong with this picture? And it dawned on me that before he opened his mouth and spoke, okay, he's sitting in a studio. They've got two chairs facing each other with a carpet in between, and they're sitting on the two chairs. There's 1, 2, 3 camera angles, one looking full on at the fireplace, and others over the shoulder looking at each other, which is a standard sort of interview configuration for cameras. The studio lighting was awful. I mean, I don't know who did that, or whether it was done on purpose, but they really needed Meghan's father to come and do the lighting for them, because that was dreadful. You could see big harsh shadows everywhere. You could see clearly where the lights were positioned above their heads. I don't know who did that. That was bad. And the fireplace was CGI. It wasn't even there. I would imagine there's a green screen in the background. Because I've got a wood burner, and I have to put wood on the fire. You don't just put wood on the fire and it sits there burning like that all night. It actually starts to shrink, the wood, and twist and deform and break down, and then you have to put another log on. That's what happens with wood burning fires. But if you look at this wood burning fire, if you actually get a still shot at the beginning of the interview and you get one at the end, the fire hasn't changed. It's a wood burning fire. Hasn't changed a bit. It's just on a loop. It's just a fake fire on a loop in a CGI environment. It's not even there. And Harry keeps talking because they've got 2 books on the mantelpiece. They've got like Spare, and this doctor fella, he's got a book there on the mantelpiece. And Harry points to it and refers to his book and laughs during the interview. And obviously, I don't believe it was there. I just believe you had 2 chairs in a studio and a carpet. And that was it. There's no flickering going on when you look at lighting. If you've got a fire and then you've got glasses on it, because they've got glasses at the end with water, which none of them ever went for, but they would have had some sort of reflection. So, just to set this scenario, it's all fake to begin with in a studio. Now, people say, was it actually live or was it pre-recorded? I don't know. It was probably pre-recorded. Some shots, the doctor had a watch on, and you could see the finger at some points in the interview, and then the next shot, his cuff was covering the watch completely, so you couldn't tell anything from his watch. I couldn't glean any sufficient evidence from the watch to prove that it was pre-recorded, because you can see the minute hand, or you can see a hand, and that would give discrepancies, wouldn't it, if it was a continuous thing. But so the scenario is set. I've made some notes here so I don't miss anything out. Yeah, the fire was fake. Yeah, sounds awful. Oh, the sound wasn't very good either. The sound was, you could hear it, but the lighting was dreadful. I can't believe how bad the lighting was. I mean, I don't use any light. This is all natural light. I've got one light, a circle thing that you can put on a tripod and position if it's a bit the lighting is a bit iffy, but I'm very much at an amateur level here. But these people are in a studio, and you would think that they'd get the lighting right, but not at all. Not at all. Then we get round to what Harry's got to say. By the way, he's being interviewed. Now, a very popular interview technique, which a lot of people use, and it's quite a genuine one, is they say to people, you write the questions down and I'll ask you the questions and you can talk about what you want to talk about. That's fair enough, actually, I can't. And that's probably what's happened here. So, by the way, this guy's a child psychologist, he's a doctor, and he's talking to Harry about his emotions. Oh, my mother died when I was 12. Yes, everyone knows that. Yeah. I mean, what can Prince Harry write a book about? My mother was Lady Diana, my father's the king, my brother's going to be king, and I'm the spare. And you must feel sorry for me because although I'm fabulously rich, I'm actually quite sad. No, I don't think he'll get anyone's sympathy vote, will he? I mean, yeah, he'll get a sympathy vote that his mother died when he was 12. I mean, how many times can he say that? How many times, Harry, can you say that? Everyone knows your mother was Princess Diana. I mean, you're going to write a sequel to your book, and your mother was still Princess Diana. So then he goes off and they start talking about drugs. I mean, it was waffling on and on about all kinds of stuff that was going in here and going out there. I mean, people have done, they've analysed it better than me. And the people, it's in the newspapers, you can read all the articles. But I actually watched it last night and it was painful. I was not nodding off. I was thinking, oh God, it wasn't worth watching. I only watched it because I thought, well, I'll watch it. It's there. It'll be taken down soon, so I'll watch it for free. But he's talking about drugs. Started talking about cocaine and marijuana, and he was going, oh, cocaine did nothing for me, because you know a lot of these toffs in these houses and the mansions and the sports cars and the line of coke, anyone? Giving it all that, oh yes, feeling marvellous. It goes on. There's no point pretending it doesn't go on. It does. And so if you're in the hoi polloi and you're mixing with these toffs who have 2 grand handbags and things like this, you know, one of the things that's going to happen, Freddie Mercury was into it all, wasn't he? Dwarf throwing parties, the little dwarfs coming round in bow ties and with a tray of cocaine, and he'd be there like this, and people would go, thank you very much, bring me more champagne. And by the end of the evening they'd pick the dwarfs up and have dwarf throwing parties. And I was talking to someone who'd been to one of these parties. I said, that's terrible, that's outrageous. And you can't pick the dwarfs up and throw them all around the room, playing catch with the dwarfs. And then at the end, they just throw them in the swimming pool. That's the end of it. And he goes, of course you can. He says, of course you can. He said, you're paying them enough money, they don't mind, they'll do it, they'll go for it. And I thought, yeah, I suppose so. So in the circles that Harry moves in with all the oi polloi, I mean, there will be cocaine flying around because that's the sort of thing that happens in those circles. Doesn't mean you have to take it. It's one of those drugs that when you take it, you turn into an instant arsehole. Because your confidence just goes right up and you're like full of yourself and you're like, you can tell when someone's on it because they're dead loud and bouncing around and like full of energy and like, and they think they're like Superman, and when they come down off it, they want another go and they want to go back up. It's very subtle because they don't actually feel that they've changed, but other people watching them says, oh yeah, he's on the coke, look, he's all coked up. You saw the classic, was it Antonio Montana with his face in a big mound of it. You just see Harry Carter with a big nose full of cocaine. But he openly admitted to taking it, and he said, it didn't do anything for me. Yeah, I would imagine that was his perception of it. But he said weed was okay. He smoked weed. Weed really helped. that does it. Okay. Well, weed is definitely a lesser of the two evils, put it that way, but a lot of people smoke weed, even in people that I know smoke weed. It goes on a lot. And like I said, pretending it doesn't is just lying to yourself, because it does go on. Me and Fiona smoked weed when we were in Holland, in Amsterdam in 2000. That was about 20 odd years ago. We were there for 6 months and we probably smoked it every day. It was great. I loved it. But if you've got mental health issues and you're schizophrenic, or you've got issues, mental health issues, smoking weed, I've seen it, it does bring out those mental health issues more than they were before. You might have been able to contain them and look normal before, but if you smoke weed and you have mental health issues, then it's more likely to come out and manifest itself. Whereas most people can smoke it and feel fine. And hyperactive people who can't keep still, who are naturally hyperactive, they can smoke it and just come down to everyone else's level and just appear to be normal. It's got medicinal values as well. I'm not going to preach to you about drugs, but I'm just going to cover a few items that I know about. So for me, marijuana's, I don't smoke it myself. I would smoke one if someone actually produced one at a party. I might have a go, but it's not something I do. Okay, and something I definitely wouldn't do is LSD. They're talking about hallucinogenics, and he said, oh yeah, hallucinogenics. He didn't call it that. He called it something else, but that's what it is. He said, oh yeah, that really helped, man. That really helped my mental health. And I thought, how the fuck can that help your mental health? How? I mean, I've never taken it, never, ever. I must point that out. But I have spoken to people who have taken it. And I remember this screw in jail. There was a thing called the roll board. Well, if you've never been in jail, you won't know what that is. But inside one of the cells on the landings, they've got like a big board on the wall, and they've got all the cell numbers, and they put the names of each person who's in each cell on the board. Okay, and obviously this board's got to be updated because people come and go every day. So you've got to rub the names out and put the new name in of the person. So if someone comes and, where's Smith? Oh, let's have a look. He's so the person who's in charge of the roll board, that's his cell, and he sits in there. He's got his bed in there. It's his job to update the board. Screws come in and out of there. The door's open all day long, and there's a kettle. Anyway, screw comes in. Make me a cup of tea, roll board. Oh yes, boss. Yes, boss. Anyway, they put a trip in the kettle. A trip is like a piece of paper. Got a piece of paper there, and they put a drop of LSD on the paper, and you'll have like, it'll just look like a piece of paper like that, but it's got a drop of LSD impregnated in the paper. So they'll drop that in the kettle, boil the kettle up, and make a cup of tea, pour the tea out. There you go, boss. Nice cup of tea. Thank you, Rob. And he'd be there walking up and down the wing, drinking his tea, shouting at people, lording it over everyone. And all of a sudden, you know, as he's taking the tea, it starts to take effect on the brain. And the thing is with LSD, and I've spoken to people, I've never taken it, but I've spoken to people who have taken it. And they said, if you're in a good frame of mind and you're all peaceful and you're sitting down somewhere, you see all colours and it's nice, and it can be quite a pleasant experience, quite a pleasant trip. You can think, ooh, and you're actually seeing things that aren't there, and you're going, wow. And the Beatles wrote a song, didn't they? Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, LSD. And you think, where are you coming from with that? You know, that's mad. And they reckon the Beatles were on LSD, and they painted their Rolls Royces all mad colours, didn't they? And people are going, what's going on here? But they reckon that's what it was. Anyway, if you're not in a good frame of mind when you have LSD, or someone spikes you with LSD, it can have the complete reverse effect. You're seeing things that aren't real, and you're reacting to things that aren't real. And this screw who's been spiked with his LSD in the kettle, the effects are starting to take effect on him, and he's there, ooh, and he's in the middle of the wing like this, and he said all the cell doors turned into mouths with teeth, and they're like this, ah, and there's a tongue came out like this, trying to grab his legs and pull him in and eat him, and he's like, ah, he's going off his tits, and he's running up and down the wing screaming with his arms in the air, and all the screws had to come running in and bend him up, carry him off down the padded cell, throw him in there for his own good and wait for the effects to wear off, and he was like giving it loads until he'd calmed down, and the doctor had examined him and we sent him home. So every time he had a cup of tea on the wing after that, he'd make his own, and he'd be walking around like this. But it is a mind-bending drug, and I know someone else who was convinced that they were an orange, and everyone around them was trying to peel them, and they were screaming and kicking off and trying to fight these people off, and people were just friends trying to help them, and he's like, it's a really bad trip, they call it a bad trip, that's what they call trips, because you go off on a trip, fuck knows where you're going to go, what's going to happen, but it's terrifying for me, someone like me. I don't want to lose control of my own mind and reasoning. That thought is quite scary to me, and I don't want to do that. That's why I've never taken it. I mean, I fly aeroplanes, you know, and I don't want to start seeing things, because things, months after you've taken it, you can have a flashbacks, and you're thinking, what's going on? And you've got to be in a proper frame of mind to react in normal life. Driving a car, for example, you don't want to see things that are out there and react to them, do you? Because that could be bad, potentially, couldn't it? So, no, I've never taken that, and Harry says that LSD's really helped him tremendously. I don't think that's very helpful advice for people. And, alright, he's got mental health issues, but, you know, because his mother died when he was 12, his mother was Princess Diana. Now I remember talking about flying, right? There was a place called Goodwood. Don't know if you've heard of it. A lot of people from England will have heard of it. It's Festival of Speed. It's a place just near Chichester on the south coast. And every year they have a Festival of Speed. They race racing cars around the outside of the airfield. And I used to frequent Goodwood because I was a pilot, used to fly. And I went there once. The whole place was closed. You couldn't get in because Prince Harry and Prince William were in there, and they were racing cars around the track, and they wouldn't let any members of the public in. You know, that's the kind of sad upbringing he had. They closed the whole racetrack so that they could race on it. No one else could get in. And that's in the early 2000s. I guess I'd say 2004, 5, somewhere around there. So that's how, you know, William probably got a bigger, faster car than him, and he was like begrudging the fact that William beat him again because he got the best car. I need mental health issues, I've got PTSD. You know, coming out with all this crap. And the last thing you want to hear is someone who's dead rich lording it over you, driving around in his Rolls Royce, telling you he's hard done by, isn't it? Because you ain't going to get much sympathy. My advice to Prince Harry is if he wants sympathy, it's in the dictionary. It's between shit and syphilis. So, that was the main thing that I picked up on with his. But he talked a lot about himself and how he's a spoiled brat, and how he can't get his own way all the time, and he wants to. And that's how it came across. And it was a complete, utter waste of time. I could have been asleep, having a nice dream, but I stayed up to watch that rubbish. And it was utter garbage. And the doctor even said to him, oh yeah, LSD, yeah. I said, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So what are kids thinking who were going to watch that? Oh, LSD's all right. Prince Harry takes LSD. I'll go off and try some LSD, shall I? No, I don't think so. And no one's picked up yet on what Lady C said the other day. which I thought was very relevant, been risk assessed by MI6, and they've been decided that they've failed the risk assessment and they are therefore a threat to the royal family, Harry and Meghan. And if that's true, and Lady C is usually right about these things, you know, people, she has moles in the palace who pass things on. If that's right, they ain't getting an invite to the coronation. They won't. Thanks for watching. Your thoughts and opinions, please.